War Eagle Auburn family, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together, we sit down, we talk about something within that whole Auburn family spectrum, because we're all about the whole and complete Auburn experience here. Yes, it may tend to be Auburn sports heavy, as is the case for this live stream tonight, but if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. Thank you guys so much for joining us. It is Monday night during football season. You know what that typically means. I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Mr. Benjamin King, for another football game grade and breakdown. We're going to be taking a look at Auburn versus Western Kentucky, the game that everyone told Auburn they should watch out for, but lo and behold, they put the wood to the Hilltoppers, 41-17. We're going to break down all of the different position groups, offer some grades up, and of course, we're going to try to hold Ben back from barning too much about the Iron Bowl coming up here in a few days as well. Ben, welcome back to the show.
Oh, Kyle, it's good to be here, man. Hey, look, Western Kentucky, not a huge program, but man, do they recruit well. Those wide receivers are going to be playing on Sundays, and our secondary played lights out to shut those boys down in the second half. So, incredible game.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about it a little bit more detail when we get to defense. But, you know, one of the interesting things that I saw pointed out, and I forget where to credit it to, but I mean, I'm sure there were several places talking about this fact that I think they were like ranked fourth nationally offensively or somewhere around that vicinity in terms of passing at least. And, you know, yeah, was it against lesser opponents in their conference? Sure. But you're still putting up numbers. So that shows that you can do something well. So the fact that Auburn was able to, you know, have success defensively and offensively against a team that a lot of people put Auburn on upset alert is something to be very proud of.
Absolutely.
So before we get all into that, though, you all know the drill. Every single live stream, we like to use this as our check-in period. So everybody in unison together, smash the like button, whether you're watching on YouTube, if you're on Twitter or Facebook, you can hit those share buttons, those retweet buttons. Share it into a Facebook group. Tell a friend that we're live. Join us here on the live stream if you can. If you are watching the live stream, we appreciate you being here too. I just noticed that this was like that was bothering me. I don't know why. Anyway, do all that for us and post where you're watching from right now. We'd love to know who's here hanging out with all of us. We got Corey checking in, Dusty, Anthony checking in. Awesome people already here. Corey says, Ben, pass that Kool-Aid over so I can start believing for this weekend.
Get ready. Get ready.
Ben has been believing. I don't think Ben's ever stopped believing, to be honest with you, which, you know, here's what I will say, because this is about the Western Kentucky game. I know it's going to be hard to keep us in check, not just Ben, but all of us, to look ahead to the game ahead this weekend. But I lost my train of thought, Ben. Wow.
Well, when the announcement came, I texted you, Caddy 4-0, here we go.
That you did. I will credit you that you wrote that to me. And I was like, well, Ben, you wasted no time. Not to say that I'm shocked, but, you know, you were right on cue with what I expect you to be, is the ever believe in Barner and bring that optimism of belief for this game. Now, putting that into perspective of this game, this is what this is what a team of Auburn's traditional power, reputation should do to a team of this particular program history, reputation, right? This is what's supposed to happen. Auburn is supposed to pull away and make this look like not much of a game. So wasn't it nice to see that happen again?
Man, it was a breath of fresh air, that's for sure.
Right.
We saw some glimpses of Cadillac on the field too, which I thought was pretty cool. Not just him running around, but some caddy plays of history.
I got to credit, it's Todd Van EMST, the main Auburn photographer. He gets all of the, you know, amazing photos that you see from the official accounts. And there's others as well, but, you know, he's the main one. He caught so many great photos of Cadillac they sent to us in the media, like of him, like, you know, just pumped up on the sideline and jumping around and stuff like that. I mean, this man, think about this. You are head coach of your alma mater, and there's literally no pressure. The worst thing that happens is they tell you thank you and hopefully stay on for the next staff. Like, how can you not have fun and just enjoy the ride and do the absolute best that you can right now? That man is living the dream right now.
Well, you say there's no pressure, but I would disagree pretty wholeheartedly.
That's
The
fair.
Auburn Nation believes in Cadillac, and if he had lost the last 2 games, people would be disappointed for sure.
I think they would have, but I'd hope that we had gotten most of our anger about the season out with the previous coach and the staff members that left, and we could have
Anger is different than excitement and then disappointment.
That's true.
All different emotions.
Yeah, all different things.
I believe that Cadillac, quite frankly, had a pretty impossible task, and he rose to the occasion, which I think is spectacular.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. For me, I can't speak for you, Ben, because I don't know where he falls in your categories, but my favorite player, rise to the occasion, have success, do better than a lot of people expected him to do, and do things that you would expect a head coach to do against the Western Kentucky, right? You know, not when they had problems, you make adjustments and then you just pull away and don't look back.
Mm-hmm.
So that was I talked a lot about on this show, all the stuff that we do about the first game for Caddy. You know, it was kind of like the deer in headlights for everybody, not just him. You know, wow, this is real. And
he calls it that too.
Exactly. And then game 2, we really could start seeing those flashes of, okay, this guy is, even in game 2, showing flashes of understanding the role of the head coach, especially in game type of stuff. And this game, you know, you just look down there and yeah, you still remember it's Caddy. You know, this is amazing. But at the same time, it's our head coach, you know, like just nice to see the man, you know, really coming into his own in this role, especially during this game.
Yep. Cadillac beat Alabama, I think, twice in Bryant-Denny. So
I'm trying to remember back. So it was here's the problem is that he was hurt a lot of the time for those games too.
I know Trey Smith was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if that was in Jordan Hare or
that was Jordan Hare. Oh no, that was Legion. That was Legion Field.
Really? No,
yeah, I believe it was Legion Field
because the first game in Jordan Hare was in 1989.
They still played in Legion for a little bit.
Really?
Yeah,
in Bama years.
Some of them, I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there was a time where we were doing Bryant-Denny, Legion, Auburn, Bryant-Denny, like it was a rotation type of thing.
I was not aware, but I know we had 6 in a row there, and the 6 in a row ended in 2008.
Yes.
So it went through 2007. So that takes us back. Cadillac was a senior in 2004.
Yep.
So
2 of them.
Yeah.
Yep. So you had your math.
So there you go. There you go.
All good stuff there.
So let's do it for a third, Caddy.
Yeah, exactly. Got to think the DBs and linebackers have improved. We'll talk about that in just a second.
Oh, boy, have they. Oh, boy.
Corey, I have not done a video of the new quarterback commit yet, unfortunately. I know I promised you guys that I am trying my hardest, but we have got a lot going on here in my house, just getting ready for the holidays in general. And, you know, there's an attempt. I will put it that way to you. But we'll see what happens if that actually gets done or not. Yeah, I see you guys talking about some of these guys. We'll mention them a little bit. 2002 was in T-Town. No Candy in that game. No Caddy in that game. I was like, Candy? Who's Candy? I missed that one. But yeah, so okay, maybe they stopped.
Caddy's my candy.
I had a feeling somebody was going to take that and run with it. But, you know. All right, so let us jump into this game. Western Kentucky. Auburn wins 41-17. We're going to walk through each of these guys, talk about them a little bit. We'd love to hear some of your thoughts about them. And at the end, we'll call for everybody's grades on that particular position group. Just because I think it's probably going to be the one that we talk the least in terms of not favorability about, but because there's it's probably the one that's going to grade out the worst, if you want to say the worst. Quarterback, would you agree, Ben? Is that probably going to be the one that grades out the worst technically?
I mean, we're a run first offense right now, and it shows.
Some of it's not even by like his own fault, but there is. Let's talk about quarterbacks, okay? Meaning Robbie Ashford. And Robbie is, again, I cannot reiterate this enough, the best quarterback that we have given our current circumstances. The man's mobility, Physical nature, willingness to fight for yards is something that we have to have to be successful as an offense. Is there a little bit to be desired right now in terms of the passing offense? Yes, but as Ben has said, we are a run-first offense once again. I would venture to say that we are still in that 3-to-1 ratio that people brought up at the last week's press conference, where we're running 3 times for every 1 passing play.
That's literally what it is right now.
Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, there's teams, so I'm guessing that's maybe a sack or something, but 42 rushing attempts, 20 passing attempts.
Yeah.
So there you go. It's 2-to-1.
I am happy that we are running as much as we are, because I am a run guy. Like, there's nothing more exciting for me than seeing a running back hit the edge and then just burst free like Tank and Jarquez did. We'll get there in just a second.
Mm-hmm.
But I think even Caddy touched about it today in the press conference. He came out right and said, yeah, there's some improvements that need to happen in the passing game, but it's not just Robbie. But we're going to be discussing mainly, this right now. They need to be putting him in better situations. He needs help from all other facets of the game. So stats for Robbie Ashford in the passing game. Well, I guess here, before we talk about Robbie, let's just note Jarquez is 1 for 1 with a touchdown.
That was a Cadillac play.
For him.
It was almost dropped.
It was.
It was good effort from Western Kentucky. Glad it was in the end zone.
Yes. I looked at that several times on the screen. I think if it had been a split second sooner of a hit, it would have been considered a drop. But because he was able to almost kind of like,
because he started moving up with it, and then he got taken down.
How do you grade that throw from Jarquez Hunter? Like, what you think about that throw?
It looked like the way Cadillac had done it a decade prior.
It looked very similar, and now that we've had time for the media to ask him questions and stuff, he has acknowledged that they put it in there for that exact reason. So the funny thing about it is, it's to the same side. Now, most people are going to be right-handed, so that's why you would do it to the right side. I heard a lot of people saying too, I wish they hadn't have put that in this week and saved it for this week. I'm kind of inclined now to think that's going to help us, because if they know we're having success out on the edge running, they're going to now have to kind of still cheat up or back a little bit, because they know that the safeties are going to hang back a little bit more and can't come up and help as quickly as they might. So you could make a case either way, Ben, but I think that was a good choice
I think it was great. We run that play 2 times, and then we run them on both ones. We'll get 20 yards each.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's run it a 3rd time and pass.
Yeah.
Touchdown,
baby. Let's talk more about Robbie, since we're talking about quarterbacks. We at least wanted to celebrate that great throw and amazing serendipitous play of seeing that play come back out under Caddy's direction and leadership. Robbie Ashford, it's literally the exact same story. 50%, just under actually 50% on the day. 8 for 19 throws, 102 yards, his long of 29, and he only took 1 sack on the day. So this is the interesting thing for me with Robbie. I feel like every single game, Ben, he has 1 bomb or 2 bombs that he nails, but everything else is kind of a bit of a struggle. Do you feel like that pattern's been there?
I wouldn't say it's a struggle. There are a couple passes he is not very good at, but he had some really good touch on a handful of 3rd downs, 3rd and longs, that we completed because we put it in Robbie's hands and he delivered. So,
are you talking about the ones where he rolled out, or were they from the pocket?
Most of them are when he rolls out.
Mm-hmm.
If I was coaching him, I'd roll him out on almost every play. He made a couple from the pocket.
Yeah.
There was one specifically to a tight end. I can't remember which one it was.
The one I've been wanting to see. Come on, Kyle. You've got this. What is his name? We've got Tyler Fromm, Luke Deal, John Samuel. Not Fair as a wide receiver. Come on.
Frazier?
Frazier. Brandon Frazier. Thank you. Yes. That was a good
I don't know
throw.
Positions, apparently. But yeah, that I was like, wow, I can't believe we put it in Robbie's hands, and that was a beautiful touch.
I did see. see a few of those. Yeah.
He had a pass to Coy Moore as well, where I was like, ooh, nice touch.
Yeah. So that's the point of this, is like we're seeing flashes of great things from Robbie Ashford in the traditional quarterback sense. But for now, I mean, he is best utilized, kind of getting him out in space a little bit, giving him a little bit of extra time that the line is, still not able to provide him at times. A lot better, but we're still getting pressure from behind. Like somebody will miss a block and there comes pressure from behind for him or the running backs. That's a little bit frustrating for me. We'll talk about offensive line in a second, but I don't really have in game. There were some frustrated moments I had with Robbie, but kind of sitting back and thinking about it now and the totality of everything, the win, he's doing what I expect him to do. I would like to see that next step forward for Robbie. I just don't know, given the circumstances, not just for him, for the team, if that's going to happen as quickly as we'd like for it to.
Well, I mean, he has one more game to kind of
maybe two
show out. That's true. One more for sure. And there's a lot on the line. I can't tell you how many times I see Robbie get the ball, roll out to the right, and I just start yelling, "Run, Robbie, run." He needs to have like a 3 or 4 second time clock where he's looking for the pass. He goes through his progression. If he doesn't see anything, turn on the jet, buddy. You're fast.
He is
and you can easily make a first down quite often.
Yep. Yeah. I would like to see him turn loose a lot more in this next game and present a challenge for the Alabama defense coming up. But listen, in a game against Western Kentucky, you probably don't want to do that as much, right? You want to run the risk of him getting hurt. You don't want to run the risk of, overdoing something, getting in bad situations. So my hope is that they'll turn him loose this week, but it would make sense against Western Kentucky, where it's probably not a necessity to do that type of thing.
Not a necessity, but I know he could have.
He could. Well, we've seen it before, so we'd love to see that happen next week. All right. So how do you grade Robbie Ashford for this particular game?
Look, I'm seeing Robbie kind of come into his own. He still will rocket launch some passes for no reason. Don't have him throw out on a go route to the right side of the field because he's not going to hit the guy. But for a couple bombs, there was one that was dropped.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had along a 29. So overall, I give Robbie kind of like a B- in this one. He has grown. He's not where we need him yet, but the flashes give me so much excitement for his future that I'm good with it.
And that's the great thing about this too. I think why you see so many people still very optimistic about him is because you've seen those flashes there and you can see what he can potentially do. Now, listen, we're not having real true conversations about next year and all that really, but we're saying that we see the potential in the kid. And that's all you can really ask for is, you're a freshman, you're going to make mistakes. And it's not just a freshman. This is a guy that actually hasn't played like football consistently, because he's been a dual sport athlete, all that stuff, and solely focused on that.
It's like 3 years, right?
Right. So it's going to take some time to switch that mentality to just a football only type of mindset. But we'll see. So I'll grade him out as a C+. I've been a little bit more harsh in my grades the last couple of weeks for him. I think I've been down in the C- range, but that plus comes from some of those things that you talked about. Some touch in moments that we normally don't see from him. Willingness to maybe stand in the pocket a little bit more, even though we would like him to run out sometimes. So I think if Robbie comes out of this next game with 150 passing yards, that's a good day for him. And, maybe a touchdown, that's going to be a good sign for an Auburn offense. We're going to really need that.
And look,
good.
I don't know if I've ever seen a quarterback as hard on himself as Robbie Ashford is. That will be something that he learns with time. Right now, he's his own worst critic. And I feel bad for him sometimes because his effort is there, and it'll come with time. He's got to forget some of those.
Yep. No one's questioning the effort. No one's questioning the talent. The questions come from decision-making, but you understand this isn't a fourth-year senior Brandon Cox making these type of mistakes. This is a freshman, and things will happen to that. And he's you're willing to get. It's kind of like KD Johnson. In basketball, what you're getting with KD Johnson in the psycho nature. So you're a lot of times screaming, no, no, no. But then you're like, oh, yes, 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 because you've seen him do things in those crazy moments before. Since we're talking about passing and it's going to be more of somewhat of a quicker discussion, let's continue with the pass game. We've talked about the Jarquez throw and the Coy Moore almost scare of dropping it, but he did complete through to get that one touchdown on the day. Coy Moore had 4 targets on the day, caught 2 of them for 31 yards in that touchdown, that long of 20. To me, I look at Shedrick Jackson, and to me, he almost had the best swan song of a final home game if he makes a few of these catches that he didn't. He also had 4 targets and only 2 catches there. I think there was one catch that, do you remember the one I'm talking about, Ben, where he dropped it was a 30-yard catch or something like that? Am I remember that correctly?
There were a handful of drops, but yes,
there were.
I think that was the bomb that was thrown pretty well, and just went on the ground for no reason.
Yeah,
kind of through the hands.
It was a little frustrating to watch that, but I've been thankful to have Shed around for quite some time. But
yeah,
there's going to be a lot of those type of statements when you look at his career at Auburn. Not saying that a lot of he really underwhelmed, but there were a lot of missed opportunities at times. And I think this game was kind of a definition of that, but he still showed up and made 2 catches for 21 yards. Somebody just asked us, what do you think about Javaris Johnson this year? Very, very good, but also very hot and cold, because it's like, if we get the ball to him, he does things with it. If we don't, it's kind of hard for him to be amazing, right?
Yeah. Well, he was 1 for 3 today or Saturday.
With that
and
bomb.
The one was excellent. It was a great catch. It's good timing.
Mm-hmm.
2 not catches, which is meh.
Yeah. What I like, and we've mentioned him one time, Brandon Frazier, the tight end, getting involved. He is my favorite tight end for reasons I just don't even understand. I look at him and I see tight end. Ever since A-Day, I've thought that. I'm sad that this is the first real time that we've talked about. I know he's caught at least 1 pass before, but to see him involved in the game and actually have a stat to talk about, that was pretty cool. 12-yard catch for him. Jay Fair, not the first time we've talked about him either, but we haven't got to talk about him a whole lot. He's known for his speed. 11-yard catch for him. So that's pretty. I mean, look at this. Everybody who had a catch, had a 10+ yard catch. These weren't like little dink and duck things. Now they had a few of those, right? But everybody had a pretty decent catch that made one. You had John Samuel Shanker, Tyler Fromm, and Jarquez, who had targets, but nothing came from it that much. So when you look at the receiving game, the wide receivers, how do you grade it out, Ben?
Yeah, so Frazier and Fair are the only ones that had 100% catch to pass ratio, because they got passed once each and both caught them. We had quite a few drops, unfortunately. Some of them were a little bit aired throws. We're still not the type of passing offense we need to be more dual threat. Thankfully, some of our best players are in the run game. We'll talk about them in a minute. Overall, for the wide receivers, I would have loved to see a little bit more out of them for this game, especially versus the competition. I have to give them more of a C+ for the effort on that side.
And see, I'm going to flip-flop with you this time. So literally the exact opposite of what you and I both said. I'm going to say B- because I'm looking at what they're provided with. We've talked a little bit about Robbie's inaccuracies at times, but we also have some moments here where there were some pretty significant drops. But when Robbie has it going, you see what happens when he connects with guys like Javaris Johnson. We've seen him connect with Coy Moore, before. We've seen him connect with, John Samuel Shanker. I just think that to me, from what I saw from my vantage point, there was more on the passing side as opposed to the catching side to be desired. So that's why I'm going to sit probably with a B- on that one. Not to say that it was an outstanding performance. I'm just looking at it given the nature of what they had to work with. Is it safe to say we like Ike more than Cornelius Williams, the former wide receiver coach? I mean, yeah. but the guy who fired him is gone. So was he the problem? That's a question that you have to ask. It doesn't really matter now, right? But we've seen what Ike Hilliard can do with some of these guys. Like, we haven't. This is the first game that I think we've talked about, Ben, where there's been a significant drop problem. Does that feel like a correct statement?
Yep. And the weather's a little bit colder, a lot colder.
Yeah.
So that has something to do with it as well. But yeah, I think Ike Hilliard is an incredible coach.
Yeah.
From the interview that he had earlier in the season to kind of the way that he's turned around the wide receivers, I think he's done a great job.
So in terms of making those comparisons, we saw less to be excited about with Cornelius Williams and more with Ike Hilliard, but different times, different situations, all that kind of stuff. We'll just say that we're happy with Ike right now and what he's doing with the room. Hopefully next year, if he stays or however that shapes out, we're going to really start seeing the dividends pay and make the wide receiver room with a little bit more improved passing. That's going to really start to show some dividends that we've been waiting to see in that group. Let's talk about running backs. Boy, howdy, Ben.
Wow. Yep. So once again, 2 100-yard plus performances from our two-headed monster. I mean,
wow.
Incredible effort across the board. Tank Bigsby averaged 6.1 yards per carry. Jarquez Hunter 8.1. Robbie had 4.1. 278 yards on 42 carries. We'll take it.
That's a good day at the office. Now listen, do you hope maybe that's a little bit larger of a stat line against a Western Kentucky? Sure. But we're also talking about a year where Auburn's running game is just now kind of getting its head of steam behind it. So I predicted in our preview show that if we had a 100-yard rushing game from both running backs, Jarquez and Tank, that we would win easily. And look what happened.
There you go.
And it was an interesting thing to watch in this game, Ben, because you had Tank Bigsby, who was just getting stuffed, whether it's because of him making the wrong read or where to go, or if it was just the poor blocking, probably more so in the latter.
There was a lot of sellout defensive plays as well. They knew we were going to run first, and they were ready for us.
There is some of that at play too. But then Jarquez was having so much success early on. It was kind of like, well, this is going to be one of those games we're talking about Jarquez more. And then all of a sudden, Tank Bigsby does what a tank does and said, I'm done with this. Let me run over your butt. And went from like an average yard. I think his average at one point was like 2.1 yards per carry and 10 carries. And just like shot up his long of 35 yards. It felt much longer than that, to be honest with you, too. 6.1 yards per carry. But then, that was great. That was good. Jarquez says, you know what, Tank? I'm taking back the spotlight. And he goes 40 yards on a dash to get him over the 100-yard mark. And, I mean, shades of Ontario McCaleb from the two. Ontario McCaleb was the master of on that jet sweep of hitting the right hole at the right time and just leaving everybody in their dust.
Yep.
Saw two running backs. I don't know that it was necessarily a jet sweep on both of those plays, but it was some type of outside run, distance sweep. And it was really, really fun to see.
Well, see, that's the thing is we've got to get our running backs out in space because we're going to run Tank up the middle almost every play. And unfortunately, there's just not a lot of holes in between the tackles with the line that we have. Yeah. Now, the tight ends, they've opened up a lot, but typically the tight ends are on the end and they will push players into, the center of the field or center of the line, in which case we get around a lot easier.
Right.
So just get the guys out in space and let the players make plays.
So what I love about this game is, especially when you think about Tank's storyline that we kind of already laid out, the struggles early and then just the explosion that happens. And listen, the success is not just because of Tank, but because of the other group we'll talk about in a second. And it just is really good to see. And so for that reason, even with the slow start, you get 2 100-yard rushers. And we briefly mentioned it. Robbie Ashford on the day, he had 37 carries on 9 yards for a 4.1 average. All three of the guys that are fasted in this running game, basically every 2 times they run the ball, they're pretty much getting a first down for the most part. So I think that's a pretty good day at the office. I'm just going to go ahead and jump out here and give them an A+.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Running game is the heart and soul of this team. Caddy said, get the ball in your best player's hands, and that just happens to be Tank and Jarquez. A+ for sure. I'm looking forward to some special things from them this coming weekend.
Hopefully, in what will be likely Tank Bigsby's last game as a Tiger. Well, there's an outside chance for a bowl game, not just because of winning this game. We're not going to get into this too much tonight, but Ben, there is a increasing chance that a 5-7 Auburn team will go to a bowl game. I don't know if you're aware of that.
No, I know. It's a possibility.
I don't.
We travel well.
I honestly don't want to get my hopes up, but I do. So
don't get your hopes up for that. We're gonna be 6-6, baby.
I hear you. I hear you. All right, let's round out our offensive discussion with the offensive line. The guys that we have just been really brutally honest about for many years now. At the beginning of this season, they did not have a great start. What you pointed out was a good point, that there was defensive sellout. So it's not just that they were struggling. There was probably a good defensive game plan on the part of Western Kentucky, knowing where our strength is and trying to stifle that, which they did to start off with Tank. But the offensive line, they only allow 1 sack today. We talked about it. We ran for 252 yards. There were a few occasions I noticed pressure from behind. So in no way was it a perfect game, but the adjustments, the response to adversity is all that you could really ask for. I mean, I don't really have much to complain about with the offensive line.
Yeah. They did what they needed to in most cases. They didn't allow a lot through the line itself. I think that sack that we were talking about was around the side.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, look, another thing that and I know I'm being really defensive of Robbie, but he's once again playing in a system that he's not really used to, being under center and having to drop back to pass. He's much more of a shotgun quarterback. That sack was, he had to drop 3 back and was looking to pass and just got slammed from the side.
Yeah.
So it's something where that's why I'm saying in his mind he needs to have like a 3 or 4 count and then take off. Yeah. Because that's going to happen, unfortunately.
It's the reality of the world he's living in, let's be honest.
But because of the new formations and the way that the current kind of skeleton crew has put together the offensive game plan, incorporating the tight ends has completely changed the way that our line performs.
Yep.
And when you bring in 2 or 3 additional bodies to go under center and push some guys around, special things happen. And I've been very impressed with the way that we've kind of changed the approach based on the personnel that we bring into the games.
Yeah. So like I said, I've spent way too much time, than I would have preferred, talking about their underperformance, their, lack of things. So I'm just not a perfect day at the office, but given the response and the adjustments planned for and implemented, actually executed by the players, I'm going to give them an A-.
Yeah. I'll give them an A. It could still be better. Granted, they were going up against some big guys too. I don't know who the defensive lineman was in the middle for Western Kentucky. There was one dude who was huge. I was like, boy.
I heard they grow big in Kentucky.
I guess. They're close to the corn capital. Just import some of that stuff and feed them up.
They load them up with a good old Kentucky bourbon, I'm sure, and just, send them out there in the off season and then just send them out there after they've sobered up to to be all big and just take up the line. So Western Kentucky, look, it is still Western Kentucky. They are a non-Power 5 school. Traditionally, you should beat them handily, which Auburn did, thankfully. But all that being said, this is a team that had a lot of talent on it, as you've talked about, some wide receivers, a good quarterback, and even showed a little bit of promise to start off with on defense. So all in all, even though I wasn't anticipating the scare that a lot of people were for Western Kentucky game, I still walked away going, you know what? That's not a bad football team. And if they had caught us in, earlier in the year, they probably would have beaten us.
Yep.
Thankfully, that did not happen. So, offense, pretty positive in the most part. How would you grade them out overall?
Yeah, I think we get, if in the first half not as high, but the second half we aced out. I'll give the overall offense is probably an A minus, somewhere in there.
I'm
Look, we
probably going
scored
to,
a lot of points.
yeah,
I was impressed with us in the second half for sure.
I'll just give them a B. The passing game is really what I need to start seeing. I kind of want to give them a B minus, but just because the way they turned it on in the second half, and like you said, they grade out much better when you look at it that way. I'm just going to give them a B. More did above average, and our average has been pretty low this year, to be honest. But so I think that's a fair grade for them. Defense, man, Jeff Smetting. Where you been, man? He
Figuring
is
it out finally.
Isn't it funny? So we all get on social media and fire this dude, fire that dude. Now, some of them probably needed to be fired, but it's funny what happens when people are given enough time and given the right situation can kind of get something righted. And we don't know if or how the whole firing of Harsin played into all this thing. What we do know is that something over the course of the year has changed with Smetting and his defense. And there have started to have not only a push up the middle, but the linebackers, which we have been talking a lot about this year, of like, where are they? Like they keep getting at the top of the tackle list, but we can't remember them making big plays. Defensive backs have been pretty, consistent for the most part. But we've just been really impressed lately of what the defense has been doing. So let's talk about the defensive linemen, kind of incorporating our edges into this, Derek Hall and them. I cannot be more impressed and happy with their level of play. I continue to see guys up the middle of the defensive line, even with some injuries that are kind of racking up for them right now, showing up. Just to give you perspective, Jason Jones had 4 total tackles on the day. He's one of those names you want to think about. Colby Wooden. My goodness, Colby Wooden. I love me some Colby Wooden. 3 tackles on the day. Marcus Bragg with 2. I heard his name called. Dylan Brooks got his name called a couple times too. Derek Hall's further down the list, but Derek Hall's doing Derek Hall things. Joseph Morris, Marcus Harris. And let me give a shout out to Mr. Hayden Bryce. I believe he's a walk-on, maybe not a walk-on, but doesn't get to play hardly, a senior. Got in there and got himself a sack at the end of the game. How do you not love those storylines? So I'm just happy with their performance overall, the defensive front. What you think?
Yeah. Overall, just the effort from those guys. And, we said early on, we don't know if it's the system play or what. I think it's not necessarily the coordinator as much as it is the intensity of the players.
Mm-hmm.
They just seem to care more. And I think part of that is a reflection of Cadillac and his coaching. The other part is the resilience of this team and their, even with their backs up against the wall with a season where it would be very difficult to even go to like a bowl game, they didn't quit.
Right.
They've locked in and put their all in this. And it starts at the line, and the guys have been playing lights out.
Well, and I think too, Ben, we give Caddy and the coaching staff too a lot of credit for this, but I got to say this too. You always want to have great leaders, player-wise, on your team. But when you look at Derek Hall, when you look at Iku Leota, when you look at Colby Wooden, since we're talking about this group right now, and I'm just throwing those 3 out there, the most prominent ones. There's other leaders there as well. People that don't get their name mentioned a lot, like a Marcus Harris or a Jason Jones. These guys have chosen to say, we will not go down in history as the team that laid down and quit and rally the team together. I mean, the report is out of the locker room at halftime is that it was less Cadillac and coaches coming in there and saying things, and it was the seniors saying, we are not going to do this. We just watched them come back on us and tie the game up going in the half. And so when you've got not only your best athletes on the field at this position, but your best leaders to some degree, that says a lot, and it showed up on the field. So really happy to see them them do so well and have a great statistical game, but a great emotion side of the game too.
Yeah, completely agree. Hey, how long have we had those captain patches? I don't remember
That's been the whole game, the whole season. It's been the whole season.
But have we had them before this season?
Yes.
Is this
Now
a new edition?
It is a newish edition in that it was previously here a long time ago. Clint brought this up like game 1, and he was really excited about them. You know how Clint gets about his Auburn aesthetics. By the way, there's your former co-host right there for the No Huddle show.
Good to see you, AJ.
Loving your outfit. Garrison Walker got a tackle. Did I miss him on the list? There he is. Yes,
yeah,
Garrison Walker, 96. So kind of what you want to see. Sean Jackson even. Oh, that's because I think there was like a fumble or something like that. Sean Jackson's a running back. I don't know why he got in the tackle. Anyway, how would you grade out defensive line?
A for effort, handful of sacks and tackles for losses. Loved it.
I'm just gonna give them an A+. There's probably some things that would want me to knock it down, but just so happy with this group. You know, been the shining light of the defense these last few games, and it's just the pressure that you're getting on these quarterbacks, the limited room that the running backs are having is huge. Love this group. Really love them. I sleep well knowing that Marquise Burks, Morris Joseph, and Marcus Harrison, Jason Jones are anchoring the interior with not a lot of like notoriety around them. You know, like they're not getting their names called like a Iku was, like a Derek or a Colby is. But those guys have been really putting in the work these last couple of games. All right, linebackers. Again, we don't have a ton to talk about in this group just because of, you know, they only usually play 2 out there. But you got Cam Riley, leading tackler today. It's nice to see him back out there in the mix after having a great start to the year. 8 total tackles. Owen Papo with 5. Let's see. Let me go down. Robert Woodyard, the former Bama commit who flipped to Auburn on signing day. 3 total tackles on the day. Desmond Tisdale with 3. Let's see who else is on this list that we haven't discussed. And this isn't linebackers, but I just noticed that Evan McGuire, the kickoff guy, has a tackle because of that tackle he had to save them from having a kickoff return. That just made me laugh. Wesley Steiner even got in on the list with 1 total tackle. So that's probably been the most linebackers that we have talked about in quite some time.
Yep, absolutely. And both Riley and Peppo are up at the top with 5 solo each. So linebacker core is getting involved a lot more. Didn't have to necessarily put them on the offensive when it comes to rushing the passer.
Yeah.
In this game, I expect us to come Saturday. So I look forward to talking more about the linebackers next week as well. In this one, though, they took care of business. They did what they needed to. They stopped the run. Western Kentucky challenged us in the run game, which I did not expect because they're a pass-first team. They ran quite a bit. They had 118 yards total off of 29 carries, so a 3.3 average.
Yeah,
that's a great job from our linebackers to stuff those guys.
Yep, I have been pleasantly surprised last couple of games with what they've done, and very happy to have names like Owen Papo called more, Cam Riley being called once again. You know, somebody just said that they want to see guys like Powell Gordon. Powell Gordon from Auburn High was never going to be like, in my opinion, this is just me, was going to be one of those guys that we talked about a lot, but we wanted to see him a little bit more. I don't know what's going on with Steiner. I think he had a little bit of an injury, but he was one of the more prominent linebackers for us to start the year off. And all I know is the group is doing better. So real quick, grades for linebackers. What you got?
I'm going to give them an A as well, man.
I think I'm just going to give them, I'll give them an A.
Look, the longest run allowed was 12 yards. That's pretty good.
And I think they did a pretty good job of, you know, in pass coverage over the middle for the most part too, in a pass happy offense.
Yep.
Just give it an A. You know, there's no like Owen Papo destroying the Penn State quarterback moment, but just give them an A. They've been working towards this. Nice to have it in a game like this. All right, let me say this real quick before we move on to DBs. Somebody posted in the chat, there are Mississippi reporters now discussing that Lane Kiffin will be the head coach at Auburn on Friday. That is from a Ole Miss and Mississippi State reporter. I just looked at it on Twitter. Now, that is not a confirmation in any way, because they even said in the tweet that no offer has been officially made yet, but apparently that is the way it's going to go down. So we will see if that actually becomes a true statement. I just wanted to address it because I saw a lot of people mentioning that it was going official, and I wanted to make sure. But that's all I've seen so far, is mainly one Mississippi-based credible reporter.
I don't know if you watch SEC shorts, but I make sure to see those every Monday.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
It's pretty good.
pretty good. So yeah, that does not appear to be anything official right now, but it does appear that Lane Kiffin is even closer to becoming the next head coach at Auburn football.
So on that, Caroline was like, "Wait, I don't want Tosh.0 as our head coach." So he'll have to bring back Kiffin's corner.
That's good. That's real good. Well done by your wife there. All right, so last group that we need to talk about on defense, DBs. I think we're going to be really excited about this. One of the best offenses passing wise in the country came into town. All we heard all week was that Auburn was going to get sliced and diced and destroyed. And there were moments in this game where you look at it and you go, wow, that's a really good passing game, and we might actually be in trouble. But then when you look at again, I use totality a lot in this particular show, but I'll keep doing it. You look at the overall situation for this game, you walk away probably very pleased with what they were able to pull off. Quarterbacks, the main one being Reed for Western Kentucky, was 26 for 55, 2 interceptions, 289 yards, and they only 2 touchdowns. We did not get any sacks on him on that particular one, but the other one we did. And then the other 2 didn't really have much to talk about. But for their main quarterback, pretty much kept him in check. 289 yards is not anything to, just dismiss out of hand.
Yeah.
But 2 interceptions, a pick 6. Ben, I was so happy with our pass defense.
Oh man, I was thrilled. Look, DJ James dropped a sure-handed pick, and then he made it up later in the game. Absolutely love that for him. That was incredible. Western Kentucky has an incredible passing attack as well. Look, we kept them on 50% on the day overall. They still put up 300 yards on us. But if the DBs had not showed up the way they did, it could have been 600 yards. That's how good and talented that side of the field is for Western Kentucky. Hats off to them. Great team. Thankful that our DBs are that much better because, man, every single time the ball went up, the boys were fighting. They were right on their guy. They'd hit him in stride. Incredible effort across the board. And when you get a couple picks and a pick 6, man, that is the best type of effort and result that I could hope for.
Absolutely. We had one question. What happened to Kaufman? Let's see. Does he show up in the stat sheet? Donovan Kaufman, are you on there? I think Coach addressed that in his press conference earlier in the week and said he was day to day. So that probably meant he was not going to be, available.
Got to save him for the Iron Bowl.
We need everybody available for the coach. Even said it today. He was like, we got to have all our bullies there for this one. Everybody needs. Yeah, Craig McDonald. We have not got to see a lot of him. I had a lot of hopes for him. Sometimes people just don't pan out, or at least yet. People forget that Nick Fairley was here for more than one season. It just took him a while to get going. So we'll see what happens here. Other stats, DJ James had 6 total tackles on the day. Keontae Scott had 4. Jalen Simpson had 3. Nehemiah Pritchett had 3. So you look at there, like 4 guys up in the top leading position of the tackles there. And I love seeing a guy like DJ James get burnt one time and then having a pick 6. Want to talk about making up for it? DJ James, man, he looks like he's going to be the next big one here. It's
Absolutely.
really, it's been a while, Ben, since we've been able to definitively say on all sides, well, not on all sides, but like throughout the entirety of the defense, everybody played good. We're not perfect, but played good. And I feel like we can say that here. So what's your grade for DBs?
Played with their hair on fire, man. A+ for these guys. Incredible effort across the board. And when you have a pick six, you return it 27 yards for a touchdown. Oh, baby. I'm getting an A in my book. A+ for these guys.
I probably shouldn't give them an A+ because they did get burned 1 or 2 times, but we kind of expected that. I'm going to give them an A+. We've been waiting for someone to not just get interceptions in this game, but to get a pick six. I'm going to give them an A+. And maybe I'm going off of emotion in this game, but just for that reason alone,
join me.
Ben,
I'm always off emotion.
I know, but here I am with you, Ben. So defensively, overall grade, it's not an A+, but I think I'm just going to give them. It's an A. Like,
yep.
You showed up. You did what you were supposed to do. You faced adversity.
You shut out this team in the second half too.
We did. Yes, I didn't even mention that. Maybe you did.
Shut out. Like, oh my gosh. And the thing that I think is incredible, and granted, you said that, Caddy went with the coaches and did some schemes and whatnot, and the players kind of had a discussion amongst themselves, which when you have really good leaders on your defense and on your team, that works out well. But the adjustments that were made based on the coaching adjustments, and then the way that the players came out and executed in the second half, it's like a dream come true, man. This is the kind of stuff that I wanted all year long, and Cadillac and his coaching ability with the rest of the coordinators put it together.
Yep. So happy for these guys, man. Just is a great way to end out the year at home with a solid performance from the offense, with a very good performance from the defense. Anything real quick you want to say about special teams? I mean, by the way, Oscar Chapman is now an official semifinalist for the Ray Guy Award, as he should be for the way he carried us literally on his back in the first half of the season.
Absolutely.
McPherson looked pretty good. We almost did give up a kickoff return, so that, if it wasn't for Evan McGuire, we probably would be talking about, at that time, a little bit more interesting of a game. But any other thoughts on special teams?
Look, I feel bad for Anders being out for the season, but McPherson looks absolutely incredible. Him coming in, I think his first kick was like a 51-yarder.
Yep.
Just easily drilled it. Just absolutely drilled it. So special teams is getting a lot better. We had a couple weird things where I'm not sure why we're not kicking out the end zone every single time. But besides that, much, much better from our special teams. Happy with them.
Very happy. I'm just going to give them an A. I'll give them an A- just because of that almost kickoff return. We should never have our kickoff person, whoever that may be, making the tackle.
Yep.
So, I'm just going to give them an A-. But when you've got your is there a like sub freshman level? Like, I know there's red shirt freshmen, but that's when you've been here for 2 years. We should be like
true
like a
freshman?
mini freshman. Well, but he's going to be here for basically 5 years. So like what I'm saying is in that first year, which is actually their 5th year, you should be like sub freshman.
Technically like red shirt, but now there's only a handful of games left. You can play them.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very strange seeing a left-footed kickoff. Just a little bit more power and we'll be golden.
Yep.
I have to give him an A- as well.
Yeah, they're wanting me to come back and talk about Kiffin tonight. We'll see. We'll see. There's nothing official yet, so I'll address that in just a little bit.
I'm still on the caddy train, and after we beat Alabama, it's going to be pretty hard for them to give it to someone else. So.
Well, not if they've already named a new coach by the time the Iron Bowl comes around, but
that would be a mistake.
Well, hey, listen.
Unless they name 2 assistant head coaches, the guys who are on the team currently.
I would be okay with that, but I'd also be okay with keeping Schmedding the way he's performing right now, and I'd be okay with promoting Will Friend personally because he's shown himself to be able to make adjustments.
I don't know. I want to bring back another handful of Auburn guys and put them in coaching positions.
No Muschamp. Just don't. No Muschamp.
Muschamp's an analyst at Georgia. Let him stay there.
No Muschamp. I'm done with Muschamp. Anyway, all right.
We could bring Chiswick back. That'd be funny. Let's not do that.
I would prefer that over Muschamp, but I want new things. Like to me, like I know what you're thinking of is for DC. You're thinking Travis Williams. That would be a new thing to me, right? That's what you were kind of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
That's a new thing to me because we haven't had him as a DC, but we've had Muschamp as a DC. We've had Chiswick as a DC and as a head coach.
I don't need Boom Boy back. We've had him a couple of times.
Yeah, he had a few other things with that boom.
Yeah,
that's in there.
this is a family friendly show.
It is. All right, let's round out our discussion here. We obviously have been very, very happy with this game. And Ben, has there been a game this year that you and I have been this happy about?
I
mean, last week kind of, but,
yeah,
but like week, that was more of emotion than anything.
Last week we were thrilled. It was the first win for Caddy. I was honestly really happy about the Mississippi State game. Mississippi State, they just played well on their own turf. Maybe we kicked more field goals, which I think Cadillac learned. But what is this?
What do you have against lefties, Ben?
No, nothing against them. It was just, it's weird seeing, look, I kick footballs and I could not use my left foot to do it to save my life. So it just feels weird for me to watch it happen. Heck, you get the thing out the back of the end zone, let's always recruit left-footed kicker.
Hey,
go for it.
You can kick like with both feet somehow if that's like physically possible. As long
well,
as
there you go.
Down there,
a lot of the guys who will do like the special teams guys, where they'll do like onside kicks and stuff, are both ambidextrous when it comes to your feet. I don't know if that's a different term, but
I think it's the right term. Yeah.
Yeah. So go for it. I'm nothing against them. It just is weird for me.
Let's see here. Do you think Iku could stay? No, he's already put out a statement that basically said goodbye. So I think Iku's like, I shouldn't say he put out a statement. He was part of that video saying like, thank you that Derek Hall did and all that kind of stuff. So you can read between the lines that's the end for him. I mean, if that amounts to it, love to have him back for another year. I'd love to have Derek back for another year if it was possible, but I think a lot of
NIL money. We'll see.
Well, it may be eligibility, not necessarily NIL money that they have an issue.
Well, some of these guys were in COVID, so I mean that year didn't count, right?
Right. And there's a new facility that can bring them back and all that kind of stuff, and a new coach or coaching situation, no matter what that looks like. So, but just to answer your question, I don't get the sense that Iku's coming back. I will be happy to be wrong about that, though, personally. All right. Well, I think that will do it. Just because we do have all of this Kiffin stuff breaking, I do need to probably go and feel the room out and see if it is worthy of doing. Here's what I'll say about this for everybody who's here right now. Always be prepared for me to go live at any moment. I've been live at 2 a.m. before. Now that was during a College World Series game in Oregon. So, but I will go live when I feel that it is appropriate to do so. And let me, I actually should be checking here. And I have gotten no updates from the people that I trust that it's official yet. So that should tell you something right there.
I mean, there's been rumors for a couple weeks now. People seeing the Ole Miss dog, Kiffin's dog around campus, going to classes with students and stuff like that. So
all that's been going on. So we will know soon enough if Lane Kiffin will be the head coach or not. I would suspect, but we talked about this on the Auburn Experience show last night, that we expected on the next episode to be discussing Lane Kiffin, yes or no. And we'll see. It's interesting. Here's the great thing is that the Caddy era ended 2-0, undefeated at home in Jordan-Hare Stadium with a Western Kentucky whooping. And I love my boy Cadillac and what he has done for this team and what we'll continue to do for this team in 1 to 2 more games, Ben.
There we go.
Love it.
Hey,
love it.
It's the Iron Bowl week. It's Bama Hate Week. It's also the week of Thanksgiving. So as we end, I just want to say, Kyle, I'm thankful for you and what you've done with this network, sir. This Auburn family comes together under the E2C network, and it is incredible. Never dreamed that would be what it is today. Thankful for you and all your work, sir.
Well,
congrats on building out the family.
I appreciate that, but that is also thanks to you and to Tristan, who started this whole idea with me eons ago. And yeah, we sat around microphones. I put the first audio up on this website that I'm not even sure exists anymore, and I don't even think I can find it anymore, frankly, because I didn't save the episodes back then. Maybe because I was so ashamed of our audio quality in it.
No one needs to go back and hear that.
No, it's just, it's best left into the bowels of history if it still even exists. But thank you, sir. I appreciate that, but I'm also appreciative of you and our little family within the Auburn family for being here, hanging out with us. All right, that's the Western Kentucky game. We are putting it to bed. When we come back together, we'll be talking about an Iron Bowl, hopefully talking about a Bama win, boys. I figured I was waiting on you to have it there. For myself, Benjamin King, thank you guys for tuning in tonight, and War Eagle.